Good day, everyone. My name is Soria. I am going to present to you my research proposal. So this is in compliance with my Master in Business Administration 101 and the subject of Business Research by Dr. Craig Enrifoyo at St. Vincent's College. So on my screen, the title of my research proposal is The Impact of Working Environment on Employees' Performance. The case of Rural Bank of Rizal, Zamboanga del Norte Incorporated in Dipolog Head Office. So in Chapter 1, which is the problem and its scope, the background of the study and the problem statement is discussed in this research proposal. So this is also followed by objectives, research hypothesis, and conceptual framework of the study. Then I have also the significance of the study as well as the limitation and scope of the study are discussed in this proposal. So there is also the definition of terms in which the conceptual definitions and operational definitions of the independent variables and dependent variables are discussed. So in this research proposal, a working environment plays an important role in the employee's performance. So the working environment is argued to impact immensely on employees' performance, either towards negative or positive outcomes, according to Chandrasekhar in 2001. In the world, there are international or local organizations that debate the rights of employees. So most people spend 50% of their lives within indoor environments which greatly influence their mental status actions, abilities, and performance according to Dorgan in 1994. So better outcomes and increased productivity are assumed to be the result of a better workplace environment. So a better physical environment in the office will boost the employees and ultimately improve their productivity. So there is also various literature pertaining to the study of multiple offices and office buildings indicating that the factors such as dissatisfaction, cluttered workplaces, and the physical environment are playing a major role in the loss of employees' productivity according to Carnevale 1992, Clemens and Krum in 1997. So when employees are physically and emotionally fit, will have the desire to work and their performance outcomes shall be increased. So, moreover, a proper workplace environment helps in reducing the number of absenteeism and thus can increase the employee's performance, which leads to increased productivity at the workplace according to Bose et al. 2004. So, as the Economic and Social Council reported this year 2002, global economic growth is increasingly failing to create the kinds of new and better jobs that can lead to a reduction in poverty. So, despite high and sustained economic growth in many developing countries, unemployment is rising. A large proportion of the labor force is working below poverty level wages, and the majority of non-agricultural employment is situated in the informal economy. So it is a little surprise that in recent years there has been a shift of focus from a singular interest in economic growth to an enlarged concern with improving the quality of work. So next is the theoretical framework. So this would gives an explanation of the variables as considered in the conceptual framework. So the relationship is defined in such a way that the set of factors impacts an individual, which in turn determines the final outcome in terms of increased or decreased performance of that individual. So I have also here the following factors that impact an individual performance. So the first one is job aid and employee performance. So this is an external aid to an individual and supports the work activity. So this means that having this job aid will support the employees to perform and plan for the development so that it can be used to obtain the optimal use for performance. So job aid made work to be easier and help minimize error rates. So this can include templates, guides, models, and checklists. Then the next one is the supervisor support and employee performance. So immediate supervisor act as the advocates for employees, gathering and distributing the resources needed by the employees for them to be able to do a good job and providing positive encouragement for a job well done. So as the working environment factor, the supervisor's interpersonal role is important to encourage positive relations and increase the self-confidence of the employee and in return improve employee performance according to Blue in 1964. The next one is 1.1.3 is the physical work environment and employee performance. So physical factors in the workplace such as poor layout or overcrowding can lead to common types of accidents such as tripping or striking objects. So there is also some other factor that could affect the employee's performance such as noise, which will cause discomfort to the employees and thus reduce the employee's productivity. So an employee could be affected depending on the task they are given and also the environment of the place they are working. So by having a good environment, the employees could apply their energy and their full attention to perform work according to Vischer in 2007. In 1.1.3, work incentives and employee performance. So work incentive for increasing employee performance is often thought to be to be based on salary and promotion. So in addition, a motivating work environment must be one in which employees are treated fairly. So no matter what level of input a particular worker has in relation to the business processes as a whole, it is essential for a manager to give each employee a sense of playing a dynamic, integral role in something much larger. So indeed, engendering loyalty is a key element of motivating workers and thereby increasing overall productivity and employee performance. So therefore, the organization determines what motivates its employees and sets up formal and informal structures for rewarding them as the working environment factor, which enhances performance. Then the next one is the performance feedback and employee performance. So performance feedbacks are regular feedback on employees' information and how they are performing. So this should consist of both positive feedback on what the employee is doing right, as well as feedback on what requires improvement. So the feedback needs to be as subjective as possible and delivered with the appropriate interpersonal and conflict resolution skills. So it can be a mix of both informal feedback and feedback delivered as part of a formal performance management cycle. So this is also according to Chandrasekhar in 2011. The next one is the conceptual framework. So based on the literature review that I have gathered, so the relationship between the working environment and employee performance can be conceptualized and depicted in figure 1.2. So as you can see in my screen, so I have here figure 1.2, the working environment factors. So these are the factors of the working environment, which are the independent variables. So we have here the job aid, supervisor support, physical work environment, work incentives, and performance feedback. And the dependent variables would be the employee performance. Now we go to the statement of the problem. So this study is designed to examine the impact of working environment on employee performance at the Rural Bank of Rizal, Incorporated in Dipolog head office. So this is a private institution that operates at the head office with a total of 25 employees. So the problem identified which made undergo this research is based on the physical work environment, which mostly affects employees' performance. So the institute is located in the area of 2 floors, which is small compared to the number of employees. So this resulted to lack of enough offices for employees to do their work effectively. So noise, which causes discomfort depending on the task they are given and the environment of the place they are working. So through this study, the employer will get to know how the work environment impacts greatly the employee's level of motivation and performance. So a well-designed office signals the values and objectives of the organization, and the use of design in the office interior communicates an organization's values and identity. So office design therefore should be one of the factors affecting employee productivity. Employee morale is often interrelated when it comes to productivity in the work environments. So it is therefore important to find out the impact of the working environment on employees' performance at this institute, which will provide knowledge and measures to other private banking institutions in Dipolog City. Now I have also here the general objective. So the general objective of this study is to assess the impact of the working environment on employees' performance at the Rural Bank of Rizal Incorporated Dipolog Head Office. I have also here the specific objectives, which is to determine the contribution of performance feedback on employees' performance, to assess the use of job aid towards employees' performance, to determine whether the physical work environment has an influence on employees' performance, and to examine whether supervisor support contributes towards employees' performance. Then research questions. So research questions, how does performance feedback improve employees' performance? How can job aid enhance employees' performance? What are the physical work environments that add towards employees' performance? Or which contribution does a supervisor has toward employees' performance? So in 1.4, the null hypothesis. So the null hypothesis is a characteristic arithmetic theory suggesting that no statistical relationship and significance exists in a set of given, single, observed variables between two sets of observed data and measured phenomena. So the hypothesis play an important role in testing the significance of differences in experiments and between observations. So hypothesis symbolizes the null hypothesis of no difference. So it presumes to be true until evidence indicates otherwise. So I have here a given sample of hypothesis. So the first one is contribution of performance feedback significantly influences on employees' performance in banks. So this hypothesis one assumes from the null hypothesis that the contribution of performance does not significantly influence employee performance in the bank. And the other one hypothesis is use of job aid significantly influence towards employees' performance. So from this hypothesis, it is also assumed from the null hypothesis that the use of job aid does not significantly influence towards employee performance. Then the next hypothesis is physical work environment significantly influences on employees' performance. So it is also assumed from the null hypothesis that the physical work environment does not significantly influence an employee's performance in the bank. And the last one hypothesis is the supervisor support significantly influences employees' performance. So it is assumed from this hypothesis, from this null hypothesis, that supervisor support does not significantly influence employees' performance in the bank. The next 1.5 is the significance of the study. So it is anticipated that the findings of the study will cover the way for the authorities of the bank to accept the variable that affects employees' working environment and their performance at the organization. So such an acceptance could be utilized to improve the working conditions of employees. So it will also visualize that the findings of this study will enable the organization to know how to address issues concerning the employees and its working environment, and to consider office design as an important factor in increasing employees' performance. It will therefore serve as reference material for future research in this area. So also, the results will throw more light on factors affecting employees' performance as far as their environments are concerned. So the study is expected to provide knowledge and measures to improve the working environment of employees for better performance in private institutions, specifically at the Rural Bank of Rizal Incorporated. Now in the 1.6 of the scope of the study, so the study will focus on employees at the Rural Bank of Rizal Incorporated in Dipolog head office. So this is a private institution that operates at the city of Dipolog's head office in Zamboanga del Norte with about 25 employees. So this study will find out how the working environment has a significant impact on employee performance and productivity. So in 1.7, I have also here the definition of terms. So 1.7.1, job aid, I have, according to Rosset and Gower in 1991, that the purpose of a job aid is to direct and guide to enlighten the employee's performance. So job aid also helps in order to support the employee's performance. So there are three ways to increase performance based on job aid according to Cavana in 2004. So the first way is through external support, which means that the employees need to take leave from work and look for the source of their reference to their job. And the second way is through extrinsic support. So this extrinsic support means that the job aid is being given within the system itself. And the third way is called the intrinsic support. Intrinsic support is an insider or software that is being used for the efficiency of workflow. Then in 1.7.2, we have also a definition of the physical work environment. So a physical working environment can result in a person fitting or misfit to the environment of the workplace. So a physical work environment can also be known as an ergonomic workplace. So research on the workplace environment needs to be done in order to get an ergonomic workplace for each employee. So having this ergonomic physical workplace at their workplace, it will help employees from that getting the nerve injury. So it is from Cooper and Dewey in 2004. So furthermore, McCoy and Evans stated that the elements of the working environment need to be proper so that the employees would not be stressed while getting their job done. So in their article, they also stated that the physical element plays an important role in developing the network and relationship at the workplace. So the result of the employee's performance can be increased from 5 to 10% depending on the improvement of the physical workplace design at their workplace, according to Braille in 1992. Then the next is 1.7.3 is the performance feedback. So this is an information exchange and conflict resolution process between the employee and the supervisor. So this consists of both positive feedback on what the employee is doing right, as well as feedback on what requires improvement. So managers and supervisors will need to be comfortable with working with a whole range of workplace factors that influence employee performance. So while the um, while the supervisor gives his or her feedback and requirements, the employee enables to give his or her feedback regarding his or her requirements. So although this process is formal, it could be managed informally by gaining closer relations between the two sides. This is also according to Chandrasekhar in 2011. Then the next one is 1.7.4 is the workplace incentives. So the performance of professional employees is poor not only due to working environment factors, but also due to a lack of human resource management aspects, such as recognition of employees who performs well, poor working condition, absence of a performance appraisal system, and poor feedback on performance outcome. So therefore, significant changes in promotions, compensation, and benefits help in keeping employees satisfied and in turn increase productivity. Then the next one in 1.7.5 is the supervisor support. So a supervisor is also known as a person with an experienced leader. So a person who can solve a problem and also a role model at the first level of organizational management. So therefore, as experienced leaders, the supervisors had always been involved in conducting a training program. So this training program that is being conducted, such as establishing the objectives, selecting the trainer, developing a lesson plan, selecting the program method and techniques that are being used, preparing the materials, scheduling the program, and also conducting a training need analysis. So it is by Rabbe in 2007 stated that a supervisor could be a trainer to the employees. So as the trainer will assist the employees in getting their job done by guiding employees on the operational process, especially when it comes to a new operational procedure. So supervisor support could lead to the employee's performance, but there is a case that the supervisor failed in supporting their employees. So for example, there is a miscommunication between employees and the supervisor in terms of delivering the information or process on the job to the employees. So this is also according to Harris et al. In 2000. So in order to gain the employee's performance, both party in between, the employees and supervisor, needs to play their part, which is to commit to the relationship. So if full commitment is given, then it would lead to a positive results in the performance of the employees, according to Blue in 1964. Now we go to chapter 2, which is the review of related literature and studies. So this is to discuss the various literature related to the working environment which has an impact on employee performance. So the discussion also identifies gaps left by other researchers of similar studies. So however, this study attempts to fill those gaps so that the write-up can contribute to a new body of knowledge in the academic world. Through this review, literature is repacked and analyzed as a way of bringing new insights into the problem studied. Then in 2.1, conceptual definition, so this subsection provides definitions of key concepts such as working environment and employee performance from various sources. So as you can see in the screen, 2.1.1, working environment, it is according by Kuhan in 1992. defines the working environment as an entirely which comprises the totality of forces, actions, and another influential factor that are currently and or potentially contending with the employee's activities and performance. So the working environment is a sum up of the interrelationship that exists between the employees and the environment in which the employees work. So, according also to Brenner in 2004, was of the opinion that the ability to share knowledge throughout organizations depends on how the work environment is designed to enable organizations to utilize work environment as if it were an asset. So this helps organizations to improve effectiveness and allow employees to benefit from collective knowledge. So in addition, he argued that a working environment designed to suit employee satisfaction and free flow of exchange of ideas is a better medium for motivating employees towards higher productivity. Then the next one is the 2.1.2 employee performance. So it is according to Sinha in 2001 stated that employees' performance is depending on their willingness and also the openness of the employees themselves on doing their job. So he also stated that having this willingness and openness of the employees in doing their job could increase the employees' productivity, which also leads to performance. So according also to Stoop in 2003, also explained that to have a standard performance, employers have to get the employees' tasks to be done on track to achieve the organization's goal or target. So by having the work or job done on the track, employers could be able to monitor their employees and help them improve their performance. So furthermore, a reward system should be implemented based on the performance of the employees. So this is to motivate the employees in order to perform more on their tasks. So there are several factors that are described by Stoop in 2003 towards the success of the employee's performance. So these factors, the factors are such as those physical work environment, equipment, meaningful work performance expectation, feedback on performance, a reward for the good or bad system, standard operating procedures, knowledge, skills, and attitudes. So in this proposal in 2.2, I also have the theoretical literature review. So employees' performance has been established to be directly related to employees' motivation. So this assertion was corroborated by different management theories since the works of Frederick Taylor on the principle of scientific management in 1911 and Henry Gantt on works, wages, and profits in 1913. Maslow in 1943 said that people work to survive and live through financial compensation, to make new friends, to have job security, for a sense of achievement, and to feel important in the society, to have a sense of identity, and most especially to have job satisfaction. So all employees that have job satisfaction are high performers in their respective workplaces. It is also according to Taylor in 1911 that the most important motivator of workers is salary and wages, when he said that non-incentive wage system encourages low productivity. So he said that if employees receive the same wage, irrespective of their individual contribution to the goal, they will work less, and that employees think working at a higher rate means fewer employees may be needed, which discourages employees to work more. So this is according to Granner and Lambert in 1972. So based on those explanations, so this study indicates that the success of any organization largely depends on the motivation of its employees. Then, we also have the goal setting theory. So, employees' goals achievement in this theory is by creating a work environment attractive, comfortable, satisfactory, and motivating to employees so as to give them a sense of pride and purpose in what they do. So, how working environment is designed and occupied affects not only how people feel but also their work performance, commitment to their employer, and the creation of new knowledge in the organization. So this is according to Taiwo in 2009. Then the next one is chapter 3, which is the research methodology. So in this chapter, it describes the methods that were used to gather the data relevant to the study. So it contains the research design, population, sample size, and sampling technique, sampling procedure, and explains the method and procedures for data collection, analysis, and interpretation of the research findings. The first one, 3.1, which is the research design. So for the purpose of this study, descriptive research design was used. So the descriptive design describes phenomena as they exist. So it is issued to identify and obtain information on the characteristics of a particular problem or issue. So descriptive research design was selected because it has the advantage of producing good amount of responses from a wide range of people. Also, this design provides a meaningful and accurate picture of events and seeks to explain people's perception and behavior on the basis of the data collected. So the advantage with this design is that it helps to find views as they are in their natural setting. Then the next research methodology is the study area. So the study area of this research was at Rural Bank of Rizal, Dipolog Head Office. So this study aimed to target human resource management officers who are responsible on employees' performance management and the employees. So the financial institution of Rural Bank of Rizal, Dipolog Head Office, was selected due to its geographical location and existed factors that employees are encounter in attaining their job. So therefore, this study expects to get more useful information for the subject matter to pave a way for the management on how to overcome those challenges so that to enhance employees' performance by improving their working environment. Then, the population of the study. So, a population is any group of individuals that has one or more characteristics in common and that are of interest of the researcher, according to Creswell in 2005. So, therefore, the target population of this study included the branch manager, branch cashier, branch processor, accountant, jewelry appraiser, and account officers. So the total population size of the Dipolog Head Office is 25 employees, which include regular and apprentice or non-regular employees. Then 3.4.1, we also have the sample size and sampling techniques. So in the sample size, according to Kothari in 2004, defines a sample as a small group of respondents drawn from a population about which a researcher is interested in getting information so as to arrive at a conclusion. So this study selected respondents who are responsible for employee performance management and employees themselves. So respondents help the researcher plan and generalize the findings. So in this study, a sample of 10 respondents of both regular and non-regular employees was used by answering questionnaires for the purpose of getting the findings of the study. So I have a sample of 10 respondents was selected out of 25 employees because they were considered to represent and have vital information for the study by virtue of their positions. So I have here uh, a breakdown of sample presented in table 3.1, a sample composition of the study. So I have here 7 participants, which are the branch manager, the cashier, the processor, the accountant, the jewelry appraiser, account officers, and non-regular or the apprentice. So the target population size is 25. I have here the 1 in the manager, 2 in cashier, 6 in the processor, 2 in accountant, jewelry appraiser 1, account officer 7, and the non-regular is 6. Then during my sampling, so I have only responded 10 sample. So 1 from the manager, 1 from the cashier, 2 from the processor, 1 from the accountant, 1 from the jewelry appraiser, 2 from the account officers, and 2 non-regular or apprentice employee. So a total of 10 sample size. So in 3.4.2 sampling techniques, so in this study, random sampling technique was used in collecting data. So according to Creswell in 2005, define random sampling as a subset of individuals that are randomly selected from a population. So the goal is to obtain a sample that is representative of the larger population. Random sampling technique was adopted in getting the respondents to answer the questionnaires. So it was Kothara in 2004 says that sampling technique is used because it guarantees desired representation of the relevant subgroups. Then data collection methods. So in this study, both primary and secondary data were used as methods of data collection. So primary data are those data that have been collected for the first time, such as a questionnaire, while secondary data are those data that have been collected by someone else, exist somewhere, according to Kothari in 2004. So in 3.4.3, primary data is original and collected for the first time by the researcher. So it is gathered through questionnaires and interviews. By using primary data as the method, we collect data during the course of experiments in experimental research according to Kothari in 2004. So in this study, data were gathered through questionnaires and interviews with employees at the Rural Bank of Rizal, Dipolog head office. So from this research, I have this primary data collected. So the reason for using primary data as a method of data collection simply involves observation and questionnaires, which enable the researcher to gather the information that could not be easily obtained. Then in 3.4.4, which is the secondary data, so these secondary data are those data that are already available and were collected from secondary sources of data such as journals, books, newspapers, websites, publications, and other documents available in libraries, including research reports from distinguished academicians, according to Kothari in 2004. So in this study, secondary data was collected by going through various documents like books, journals, websites that are relevant to the theme of the study for the purpose of gathering information. So from this research, I choose the primary data as my collection for the questionnaires and interviews. Then 3.4.5, which is the data collection tools. So according to Creswell in 2005, no single technique or instrument may be considered to be adequate in itself in collecting valid and reliable data. So therefore, 2 major tools were used to obtain adequate and reliable information for this study. So this include interviews and questionnaires of both structured and semi-structured nature. So this study used data collection tools which involve observation, interview, and questionnaires. So in the 3.4.6 questionnaire, so According to Kathari in 2004, a questionnaire is a method of collecting data which uses a set of questions for collecting data. So from this method, data collected with the help of questions. So by this method, selected respondents of this study had to answer questions on their own and bring back to the researcher. So both structured and semi-structured questions were used in helping the researchers to get answers and relevant information from respondent. Then next, 3.4.7 observation. This observation method allows the researcher to observe how respondents conduct their day-to-day and how those activities relate to job performance. So from this study, the method was used in order to assess employees' working environment and the availability of resources of their job performance within the organization. So the observation helped to collect non-verbal responses from the respondents. So this was done through the use of checklists. Then 3.4.8 interview. So the interview method of data collection involves presentation of oral verbal stimuli and replying in terms of oral verbal responses. This method is used through personal interview and, if possible, telephone interview, according to Kothari in 2004. So in this study, personal interview was used, which required a person known as interviewer or the researcher by asking questions in face-to-face contact to the interviewee, which is the respondents. Then the reason for using interview is a method of collecting data was that more depth information can be obtained. So interview used open-ended questions from which respondents were able to discuss issues of interest in details. Then next, we have the 3.4.9, reliability and validity of data. So Best and Kahn in 2006 defined validity as the quality of a data gathering instrument or procedure that enables it to measure what is supposed to measure. So in justifying the validity of the study, a number of steps were taken. So the first one is to use a random sample and convenience sample provided the study with rich information that enable the generalization of findings to wider population. The second one is the data collection methods through the use of questionnaires and interview ensured excellent results. Reliability, on the other hand, is the degree of consistency that the instrument or procedure demonstrate, according to Best and Kahn in 2006. So, in this study, reliability was achieved by measuring consistent results from the respondents. So, reliability of data was assured through information collected from relevant respondents with specific attention to key issues related to the working environment and employee performance, factors that hindering employees' performance, proper wording of instructions, and logical arrangement of questions that were asked. Then the next one is 3.4.10, data analysis. So a data from the answered questionnaires in this study were analyzed by using percentages. The collected data were checked for consistency, and then frequency and percentages were used to show responses to the distribution. So the results were presented in tables and in chart form. So on the screen are the references that put my research proposal in context and demonstrate the scope and depth of my research, and acknowledge other people's or authors' work that my work completed. So I have also here the appendices of B is the research instrument, which I made a questionnaire for me to evaluate the employee. So I have here a letter of transmittal conducting a survey to evaluate the impact of the working environment on employee performance at Rural Bank of Rizal Incorporated in Dipolog branch. So this is the letter of transmittal that I have made to evaluate the performance of the employee. So another one is the research instrument. So research instrument, I have also here, wait. I have also here the research instrument that was given to the employees. So I have here 5 statement. So I have here very bad. In the first column, the statement. The next column, very bad, bad, moderate, good, and very good. So they need to encircle the options that they think best suits of the employee. So I have here question number 1. How would you describe your office building space influence you to stay in the office and work comfortably? How would you describe your relationship with fellow workers? How would you describe your relationship with your supervisor? What is the level of feedback that you receive from your supervisor? And how would you describe your job security in this organization? I have also here another question. So due to overall office environment, can you complete your daily tasks easily? So they can choose whether not at all, to some extent, often, mostly, or always. Do you feel the employees are recognized as individuals? So maybe it would always, usually, sometimes, rarely, never, or not sure. Would you prefer a friend to apply for a job at this organization? It would be definitely, probably, not sure, probably not, or definitely not. Or my job requirements are clear. So maybe strongly disagree, neutral, agree, strongly agree. I have a clear path for career advancement. Does the organization clearly communicate its goals and strategies to me? And number 12, how would you rate your supervisor? How would you rate your supervisor in each of the following areas? And assign a rating on a scale from 1 to 5, where 1 represents poor. This 1 represents an poor. 2 represents average. 3 represents as good. 4 represents very good. And 5 represents excellent. So from here, we have the communication, planning and organizing, directing and coordinating, job or technical knowledge, interpersonal relationship. I have also here an interview questions for research study, the impact of working environment on employees' performance. In the case of Rural Bank of Rizal, Zamboanga del Norte Incorporated, Dipolog Head Office. So they can put their name, their designation, the sex, the date that they are filling on this interview questions. So I have here gathered questions for how long have you been working at Rural Bank of Rizal? What are your roles and responsibilities for the institution to attain its goals? Do you think the working environment at this organization influence you to work comfortably and perform well? From your experience, does the organization goal have anything to do with your job performance? Which work incentives from the organization helps you in job performance? How does your supervisor contribute in job performance? From your experience, do you think there is fairly treatment of rewarding employees who performs well? What will be your recommendation about working environment to enhance job performance? Does performance feedback applied in this organization to help in performance maintenance? What can you say about leadership style from your supervisor and the whole organization as far as working environment and job performance is concerned? How would you describe your relationship with other workers? And how does open and free communication from your supervisor applied on job performance. So that would be all for my video presentation and my research proposal about the impact of working environment on employees' performance, the case of Rural Bank of Rizal, Zamboanga del Norte Incorporated in Dipolog Head Office. So if there are any questions or comments, please comment down below on this video. So again, thank you and God bless everyone.